How are we getting on, people? Luke here from LAGFX. We are back today with a new Sunday sessions video. If you guys are new to this series, it's basically where we choose a few pairs that we feel hold good potential for the coming week. We break down some of the analysis we have performed to give you a better understanding on how to tackle these markets. Now, if you guys go on to enjoy this video, don't forget to leave it a thumbs up. All the support you guys provide is very much appreciated. And if you have any questions or queries with regards to the analysis I go through today, then just leave them down in the comments below. So there's a few pairs that I'm going to go over in today's video. The first pair we are going to start off with is the US dollar Swiss franc. Then we're going to move over to the Great British pound to the US dollar. And then we're going to finish on the euro US dollar. If you're wanting to see our gold analysis, make sure you are in the Learning Lounge group chat, because a little video will be there breaking down our analysis on the gold spot. So, as we can see, we have the US dollar Swiss franc market in front of us. As we know, this market is predominantly bearish. Therefore, we want to be looking for bearish opportunities longer term, fitting in with our bias. But as you can see, price has been trading us in a bullish way as of recently, and that is because price has been within a corrective phase. So if a market is predominantly bearish, then as we know, the impulses will be a downward trend, and as a result, our corrective waves are going to be bullish ones. And that's exactly what we've had. We've had a bullish trend trading us up to clear any remaining supply before price can ultimately trade us lower. So how can we look to get involved in this market this coming week? Well, I have gone ahead and marked out what would be considered the last protected high within the corrective wave that's happening within the higher time frame corrective wave. So if we just zoom out quickly, yes, this right here is a corrective wave before the next impulse that trades us lower, which means that this right here is the corrective wave within this higher time frame corrective wave. Why? Because the trend is bullish. So we have a impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse trading us in, and then we have the higher time frame impulse that then trades us lower. It's very important that we understand structure within structure and multiple time frame analysis, because this ultimately is what allows us to place trades that have refined entries and greater risk reward ratios. So I want to see a break in the last protected high within this bearish correction. As soon as we've broken that, we then have the confluence to suggest that the next impulsive wave within this correction is ready to take place, and that should hopefully drive us up and into this supply zone. We can then look to close any buys that we've placed and prepare to take this market short longer term. And I feel this could happen over the course of this next week. So what I want to see is price trade us down, clear this inefficiency here, deliver us with the break of structure that we need, wait for price to pull back again to give us entry confirmation, and then we can buy into this market. I'll then be driving price up and into the supply zone that we've got marked out. Once price takes profit in and around this zone, we can then wait for price to distribute. That's a change of hands from a demand dominant market to a supply dominant market. So we want to see demand being offloaded, supply being introduced, and as a result, we have that down move. Okay, so yes, we could look to get involved in buy positions from here. However, I will be waiting for that break of structure first, just to give us the confluence we need to suggest the next fractal impulsive wave within this correction, and then I'll be taking part in the market. But it's great that because we understand the story and the direction of this market, we are able to take advantage of it in multiple ways. But that's my analysis right there for the US dollar Swiss franc. So temporary longs to trade us up and then shorten longer term. Okay, heading over to the euro US dollar. This is a market that has recently broken structure to the downside after a penetration of a higher time frame supply zone. So this tells us that enough supply was introduced at this point here to basically trade price down before taking us back up in the market. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what the overall structure of this market looks like. So if we zoom out, you can see here that price has been extremely bullish since the start of the year. I don't think it's going to end here. I think this market is predominantly bullish longer term, which falls in line with our US dollar Swiss franc analysis. Why? Because we want to see weakness in the US dollar. So we want to see this market continue to trade lower longer term. I want to see this market continue to trade as higher longer term. However, I am expecting a corrective wave to take place, just to trade us down to clear some inefficiency before a continuation to the upside. So whether we have our take profit target set down at this fair value gap or we set it a little lower, I'd love to see price trade down, pick up enough demand before then taking us higher longer term. Yeah. So how can we look to take part in this market? Well, I believe price will come to clear this fair value gap, pick up enough demand to then trade us up and into this order block here before trading us lower. Once price then trades us lower, it's going to find a larger area of demand where all of this supply here is then removed and the demand that's needed to then reverse the market is introduced. So again, that change in hands and the strength in supply and demand flipping. So if we just zoom in slightly, I would love to see this gap be cleared in order to push price higher. That will then encourage price to come and clear this order block. Once price has cleared the order block, we can then expect a continuation in bearish structure. That won't be long-lived. I think price will fall until it finds enough demand to then go on to set a new higher time frame impulsive wave to the upside. So the real question is, how can we look to take part in this market this week? Well, what we can look to do is actually place long positions from this zone here to drive price up. We can then take profit, and then dependent on how the market reacts, we can then look to either add to our long positions or short the market. Buy-in here is quite safe as the overall structure of this market is bullish on the extreme higher time frames. However, as we're aware, price is within a corrective phase, so we just need to be careful when we are placing these long positions. But I'd love to see this gap cleared on the 4 hours, giving us the opportunity to take this market higher. So that right there, people, is my analysis for the Euro USD market. Finishing on the Great British Pound to the US dollar. As you can see, price has traded us down and into this demand zone. We've seen this demand zone be respected. I would love to see price now break structure to the upside, breaking the last protected high within this bearish structure. We could say that this was the last protected high, but I'd like to go for something more significant. And I'd like to see price trade above this liquidity sweep, as this essentially isn't acting as any kind of responsible high. This is simply a sweep to clear any remaining liquidity. The fact that price has swept this zone and still held this demand zone tells me that there's a lot of demand here. Okay, so I'd love to see price continue trading us higher, break this high here. That will then give us the confluence to suggest longer term bullishness, and that's when we can look to add to our buy positions. You can see that this market has been predominantly bullish for quite some time, and I'd love to see that continue. So we have a low set, a higher low, a higher high. This is the structure we want to see on the higher time frames. We just need to wait for price to break structure to give us the confirmation that price is reversing here, and then we can look to add to those positions. What I've gone ahead and done is actually mark out a hidden order block here. Price seems to be rejecting well. It'll just be interesting to see how price responds on the open later tonight, giving us the opportunity to potentially get involved. So, you know, if you wanted to be preemptive, you could place a position like this. And I would set my take profit just below the last higher time frame high, which is here. So I'd set it just around this point, giving us a lovely risk reward ratio of a 1 to 9. However, the safest bet would be to wait for price to reject here, continue trading us higher, breaking the last protected high within the bearish structure, price then pulling back and then taking off. This would be the safest bet. One that would be less preemptive, one that's going to generate us probably with more returns and a higher chance of being successful, because we have all pieces of confluence and confirmation we need to actually take part in the market. So we'd essentially get involved on a trade similar to this, with our take profit set just below the last high, and as you can see, this gives us a 1 to 24 rather than a 1 to 9. Yeah. So that right there is my analysis for the Great British Pound to the US dollar. I'd love to take part in this market. It's just waiting for that confirmation. But I think ultimately we have some amazing opportunities this week. It's just a case of allowing price to play into our hands before we take part. As I say, there is one more pair that I am looking to take part in this week, and that is the gold spot. But I'm going to provide that analysis in the Learning Lounge group chat. So if you are involved, go ahead and watch that video. If you aren't, join the Learning Lounge group chat. It's completely free. The links will be in the description, and the video will be there for you to watch. But that right there, guys, is going to summarize this week's Sunday Sessions video. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have any questions or queries, as I said before, please leave them down in the comments below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Just want to wish you all a very profitable week. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you all next time.